Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the most must-see, most-see... What are you doing to my microphone? What's up? We're back. Podcast, episode 9, The Fight Pit Podcast, episode 9.
Yeah.
Ooga chaka, ooga chaka, ooga chaka, ooga. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is in tribute to Bray Wyatt, and we are going over Summerslam 2019, which is where he first made his debut as the Fiend. So this should be exciting. So if you'd really like to follow along with us on this SummerSlam 2019 review, go watch SummerSlam 2019 right now. Peacock Network, only $10.99. Wait, isn't it $9.99?
I think it's $9.99. $10.47 after everything.
For only $100 a day.
For only $120 a year.
We will give you the most must-see action that you can think of on the podcast, on the Fight Pit Pod. Yes. If you really want to follow along, though, SummerSlam 2019, it's a good watch. I like it. What about you?
I mean, for the most part, yeah, I like it. There's quite a few squash matches within this, which I mean is fine. But, yeah, for the most part, it is a good watch.
There was a lot on the kickoff.
I recommend at least giving it one good watch. And if you like it, you can watch it again.
I did forget before we started this that Edge actually speared Elias on the pre-show.
When they brought that up, I remember watching it. And Edge just comes out and is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And Elias tries to make fun of him.
Well, it was the real, it was like the first thing that he did that really led to his return, which...
Yeah, his full comeback.
Was kind of like a just preview of what we were going to see, which was great to see, especially considering it was 2019. He hadn't wrestled in 8 years. Obviously, it would be another year before he came back full time.
Right. But it's good to see him either way.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, spearing Elias that's just great because Elias sucks.
Yeah.
Obviously, WWE thought that because they fired him. I don't know. I thought Elias was okay. But our first match that we're actually going over, they started off strong with this. It's Becky Lynch versus Natalya. And I'm not necessarily a huge Natalya fan, but this was in Canada. You know, there were a lot of stars on the show that...
So they were going to book her strong.
Oh, yeah. It was a good show for, like, hometown appearances. I'm not exactly sure if Kevin Owens was from where they were at, but... I'm pretty sure Natalya was legitimately, and Kevin Owens, like, they were going crazy for him. Like, even if he wasn't from there, like, specifically. Are you also watching the Rocket League?
Yeah, I'm watching it.
I hope you guys enjoy this new format, because we're going to be doing this from now on. You're going to be watching UFC and wrestling and Rocket League and
just watching how much we suck.
Yeah, we're losing this match. I think we lose 5-0 or 6. No, I think it's 6-2. Yeah. Anyway, Becky Lynch versus Natalya. When I first watched this, I didn't care.
Yeah, me neither.
When I first watched it in 2019, I remember I was on my way to Toledo, and that entire time I was just watching. I started watching Becky Lynch versus Natalya, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is so cool." I mean, I really enjoyed it at the time, and I guess I'm a little disappointed to say that I watched it back. My first time watching it back, I didn't really care enough to pay attention, and then when I rewatched it, you know, it wasn't really anything to die for. It was pretty good. Like, it was good. It's Natalya.
It's a good
Becky
showing
Lynch.
of Natalya's technical skills, but...
Like, that's the thing with Natalya. She has technical skills, but her character is so bland and boring. And
it always has been, because it's always, oh, I'm from the Hart Dynasty, and that's basically it.
Yeah, that's
literally been her whole character, her whole career.
But I still, you know, this was really showcasing Becky Lynch's man character. This was right after WrestleMania 2019 when she first won in the triple threat main event.
The double title.
Yeah, it was really cool seeing this, and I really feel like we haven't gotten the same man character from Becky Lynch since. Obviously we have, but not as...
In full.
Predominant, not as, like... not as much as I remember it being like so cool. Like after she left in 2020 with the pandemic and everything, and didn't come back until SummerSlam 2021.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't really gotten a lot of this, but yeah, I mean, Becky Lynch, she put the sharpshooter on Natalya at one point, and the crowd was going crazy. And I do remember one spot in particular with Natalya putting Becky Lynch kind of on the middle rope, on the middle turnbuckle, and there was a sharpshooter on. Natalya was kind of sitting on the top rope.
Oh, yeah, I remember that spot.
I thought it was really good.
That was nasty.
Yeah, I thought that was really good.
Another really nasty spot. I mean, it's done a lot more today. She, like, caught Becky Lynch outside the ring, grabbed her legs, swung her around, smacked her head against the barricade. I mean, that's done a lot more today than it was then. So it was a little more than it is now.
But obviously, we already know that Becky Lynch won because, honestly, I feel like if Natalya would have won, it would have been so
anticlimactic at the time.
Oh my god, especially because she just won the triple threat, everything, all that momentum. It was kind of obvious who was going to win, so it's not like a huge shock.
Right. But it was good to see a good showing by Natalya in the process, though.
Oh yeah. Like, I feel like even if she isn't a character that I'm necessarily fond of, she needs her moments, and she's like, this was one of those.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
She's not necessarily a top star in WWE, but she's been there for like the longest. She's the most consistent, and it's really cool to see stuff like this and stuff like with Ronda, stuff with I mean, I can't really think off the top of my head, but Natalya, her getting her showcases have always been good.
Yeah.
They're just not necessarily something that I'm going to look at the card and be like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for Natalya versus Dewdrop.
Right.
But after this, we got another woman who was going to be fighting tonight, Trish Stratus. Her promo, I'm basically going to name it Queen of Queens because she called herself the Queen of Queens. She really thought she was going to beat Charlotte Flair. Which, that match, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but that was really good. It was a lot better than Natalya versus Becky Lynch, in my opinion.
I agree.
But there was something I forgot when watching this. I forgot most of these. It's just, the main one I was focused on was Bray Wyatt versus Finn Balor, which I don't even need any notes for because I've watched it 100 times. It's one of my favorite matches of all time. But the one that I forgot was Goldberg versus Dolph Ziggler.
No, there isn't much to it. I remember basically the whole thing.
Dude. Goldberg versus Dolph Ziggler. I didn't realize it was going to be on the show. And then when I seen it, I was like, oh, I remember this.
It was a straight squash match, and Goldberg, Dolph Ziggler initially was just talking a bunch of crap, and Goldberg just comes out, and Ziggler gets like 2 bits of offense with super kicks and stuff. And then...
Well, before we even talk about the match entirely, I just want to say I love the setup to it because it was originally like Dolph Ziggler going to be facing Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam because he was talking so much crap to Shawn Michaels. I mean, it was when Shawn Michaels was calling Dolph
a Shawn Michaels wannabe.
Like he said he never made it past being a Shawn Michaels wannabe. So I mean, obviously Dolph Ziggler versus Shawn Michaels, I don't think at this point in Shawn Michaels' career it would have been a good idea. And luckily it didn't happen. But that is a dream match. So they were going to set it up like it looked like they were going to. And when... and then they were going to set up something with The Miz and Dolph Ziggler. And when The Miz and Dolph Ziggler were about to sign the contract, Dolph, he signed it. And then The Miz said that, oh, well, you didn't read the contract. It's actually your opponent, Goldberg. And then he came out. Everything was awesome about this setup.
Yeah.
And the match, even if it was a squash match, it came out first thing, super kick by Dolph, and then a pin and a near fall. It's like, oh my god, can Dolph actually do it?
Yeah.
It was really like one of those
It was a good start for
It
sure.
it was a very good fake out. And then when he hit the super kick the second time, when I was watching this in 2019, I was legitimately like, "Oh my god." And right here, I just remembered how great it was, and I was like, "Wow, it's just amazing." I love doing these, like reviewing the old shows a lot more than Raw and SmackDown. I honestly think that with our podcast, we're going to be doing just this because it is not a, how do I want to put it? It's not something that we can do for long term to watch Raw, SmackDown, AEW, Dynamite,
with
AEW.
our schedules.
I mean, it's with our schedules. It's with anybody's schedules. I mean, dude, there's so much wrestling every week, all week.
It's hard to keep up with everything at the same time.
It's kind of impossible unless you really
invest into it.
When we were doing the podcast, I think I probably averaged around 12 hours a week of watching wrestling and or MMA. So
Yeah.
like with us just watching this was a 3.5 hour show. This was great. This was awesome. I loved this. We might not do this every week. And let us know what you guys think in the comments. I think this is going to be a good format for us. But yeah, super kick, Dolph Ziggler, he almost got the win, and it was just like, oh my god, is he actually going to win? And Goldberg speared this man across the ring. When he got speared, Dolph Ziggler, he didn't
flipped out of his shoes.
He didn't fold inwards. It was like his entire body got the shock, and he's obviously one of the greatest sellers of all time. His entire body got the shock. It went like hit, and then his entire head goes back, and then he keeps going, and then he comes back up.
Completely like flips backwards when he goes to sell, and it's just.
Well, Goldberg hit his spear and jackhammer, immediate 1, 2, 3, and then I forgot completely about this stuff. But Dolph Ziggler, he called him out after the match, saying that anybody can get one fluke, and Goldberg came back out and speared the fuck out of that boy.
He said, "Is that all you got? You're just a one-trick pony. You only do one move. You think one move is enough to finish me off? No." And Goldberg just comes right back out. He's like, "I've had enough of you." He spears him again.
Renee Young, she said something about Dolph Ziggler has the chip the size of the Grand Canyon. I was like, how does that make sense? Even Corey said something about, I'm still trying to figure out chip the size of the Grand Canyon. I loved their format. Renee, Michael, and Corey, they all played off of each other so well. But they were also kind of cringe.
At times, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But after Ziggler got absolutely demolished for a second time, he calls him out again. And he said, any idiot can get lucky twice. And then Goldberg came back out and it was just murder at this point. Like, it didn't even... It was horrible. But it was probably the funniest thing on the entire show.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, 100%. And this next match that we're following, Ricochet taking on AJ Styles for the U.S. Championship. And I knew about this match. Like, obviously I watched it when I watched SummerSlam. And this has always been a match where I'm like, Ricochet versus AJ Styles, they're going to tear the house down.
Yeah.
And I knew that it happened at a huge pay-per-view, but I forgot it was at this one. So it was a nice surprise, and I do remember the ending of this match in particular being so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, just awesome. Well, I mean, I thought the setup for the match was great as well. But I do want to mention, before they showed the setup and everything, they were showing all of the foreign commentators, and R-Truth and Carmella, they were acting like one of the teams because they were doing the 24/7 championship stuff. I just wanted to do a mention to them because that stuff was funny. Maybe not as funny as Dolph Ziggler on this show, but still. And then Drake Maverick, he was having his stuff, which it's just kind of upsetting to see that Drake Maverick, he didn't make it in WWE like long term.
Yeah.
So, but either way, we're focusing on the good stuff. Ricochet versus AJ Styles was an amazing match. The setup was basically AJ kind of going soft, and then the OC was like, they were just trying to make him what AJ from Japan used to be. He used to be this really, really good wrestler that, like, he doesn't take any bullshit. He'll throw anything at you to win. And it wasn't really being shown with AJ during this time. So, and obviously, other people were thinking that as well.
Yeah, because during this time, like you said, he started to go a little bit
I mean,
soft.
this was after his WWE Championship run where Daniel Bryan turned heel on him and kicked him in the nuts and then won the championship. And then, obviously, Daniel Bryan went on to defend it at WrestleMania. So, AJ was kind of always going to be, not necessarily have a downfall, but, I mean, he just lost a huge program. He lost his championship after a year, so him going down to the United States Championship picture and actually getting his edge back, that was a huge part of this story, and it originally looked like they were just going to be friends, Ricochet and AJ, but then AJ just, he put him on the middle rope and did a Styles Clash, and that was kind of the debut. I'm sure he did that in TNA or New Japan beforehand. Did. I know he did, but at the same time, for him to do it in WWE,
it's crazy.
And with Ricochet sold it so well because he looked like, oh my gosh, what did I just get hit with? Like, it was just awesome.
In those kind of moments, Ricochet's been one of the best sellers of that. He'll either just lay on the ground for a really long time to sell, like, what just happened, what did I just get hit with, or he'll have this huge face of surprise in those moments. It's just like feeling stunned.
I do remember that this was the first show that Luke Gallows brought back his face paint, and after, the story of AJ getting his edge back, it was kind of a breath of fresh air at this point, because it was the OC. This was the original OC. Now they don't feel, they have it with Michin right now, but it just doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
It kind of feels like a project that Triple H brought back because he thought it was kind of cool, but it kind of feels like it's lost its
touch.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
And maybe that's just down to booking decisions with certain people. Like, AJ Styles has been on top of the game since early 2000s, so,
yeah.
And he's getting older, plus the OC, they're older now. But back here, like, I seen their entrance for this show, and my first thought was, the OC is so amazing. Plus, the face paint on Gallows. Carl Anderson's just his, like, machine gun persona. He didn't really show it as much here, but he still, like, you could kind of feel it. And AJ's edge, it was so good. And obviously Ricochet is so talented. That's the first thing I'm going to say.
Yeah.
This entire match, Ricochet they showed out.
Yeah.
I feel like technically this may have been the best match on the show. Maybe.
Definitely, at least.
When it comes to excitement, I feel like Bray and Finn can't be beaten because of the aura of Bray Wyatt, but when it comes to technicalities, this was good. I did think it was really, really funny. Like, Anderson and Gallows were trying to distract Ricochet, and basically, he would grab his leg.
Yeah.
Like Gallows, or I don't remember the exact... I think it was Anderson, actually, where basically he tried to grab Ricochet's leg. He was on the top rope, and then he kicked him away. And then Anderson he stumbled back, and then he fell into Gallows, and then Gallows, kind of stumbled as well. And then they were just set up for Ricochet to I don't remember exactly what he did, but...
It was like a shooting star, like, modified shooting star or something like that.
Yeah. Ricochet's leg was getting worked over the entire match, which led to the calf crusher, which led to Ricochet. Yeah. And Ricochet was selling his ass off. Then Anderson, after Ricochet was trying to get the momentum, Anderson and Gallows kept interfering. The distraction led to basically Ricochet kicked them away, took care of Anderson and Gallows. he got on the top rope and did like a whisper in the wind kind of move. And this is what I remembered about the match. AJ caught him, picked him up, Styles clash position, boom. That was it. That was like, I remember that.
Yeah, I was about to say, watching that back, how impressive AJ Styles was at this time with being able to catch people in certain moves, to be able to do that. It's mind-boggling, because that takes serious timing.
Even for Ricochet to just land on him the way he did, like, his legs had to be in the perfect position, on the top of his shoulders, it was such, like, these two were so good.
When it comes to catching moves, which, I mean, it was a physical catch, another person that was really good with it, with Ricochet, was Adam Cole. Like, it was one time, but still, that super kick, when Ricochet tried to do that moonsault off the middle rope.
Yeah.
It was wild.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But, yeah, I mean, literally Ricochet was going for his Phoenix Splash, and you had to time that perfectly to be able to just catch him in midair and grab his legs and turn.
Yeah, that is probably what he was going for, but Styles was he was standing up, so it was kind of weird. Like,
yeah,
I know Ricochet does the Phoenix Splash, and
I'm pretty sure it was the setup for a Phoenix Splash.
The whisper in the wind is basically without the 450 added into the Phoenix Splash, so it's. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what Ricochet was going for, but still, it looked awesome.
Yeah, it's just what it looked like to me he was going for at the time.
Well, after this, basically, Styles told Gallows and Anderson to hit the Magic Killer on Ricochet, and they did, and they basically sent a message. This left kind of no doubt in the mind that, okay, yeah, we thought maybe Ricochet can win. This was still, like, 2019. The mid-card division was stacked with, like, Drew McIntyre and Baron Corbin. Basically, look at Money in the Bank 2019, and you'll see, like, Andrade, Finn Balor, that mid-card was stacked. This was kind of the nail in the coffin that AJ Styles is on top right now, and they won't not be on top for a while. And I'm pretty sure Gallows and Anderson were the tag team champions, weren't they?
Yes, I think so, if I remember right.
Yeah, so the United States champion plus the tag team championship.
Basically Judgment Day, current day.
Yeah, you can't really get a lot better than that unless you're the world champion plus the tag team champions, but...
Oh, and Raw anyway, they held all the gold.
After this, the Street Profits had a promo. This was when they were NXT tag team champions, so not like current Street Profits.
Right.
And I'm not even talking about the heel ones now. I'm talking about the mainstream media Street Profits. This was the more like when they were still in NXT and like they were still a part of the underground of what NXT was. But they basically had a promo. They were talking about the different matches. Angela Dawkins kept hitting on Nikki Cross for some reason,
which is kind of weird, but
and then they did a beatbox with Ric Flair, and it was a little weird, but kind of cool. And then Ember Moon versus Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I would like to say that it, like, lived up to what I thought it would have been. But I guess it didn't really. Bayley, at this time... This was her SmackDown Women's Championship run. This was her main one. Like, she had this championship for a while. This was before she turned heel, so her being a babyface at this time, and obviously that leading to the heel turn, it did feel like she needed something else.
Right.
And Ember Moon, like, obviously, this was a babyface versus babyface match.
Right.
And those aren't, some of them can be taken a certain way. As in, maybe they'll be, like, maybe you can actually see a good guy versus a good guy. I personally think that heel versus heel works better. Like, for example, Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
I think that works a lot better than compared to, say, John Cena versus Hulk Hogan or something.
Right. Right.
So, I don't know. It was a good match. But it kind of felt like a little bit of a miss. I will say, though, when her music played, I haven't really seen her in a while in the WWE setting. I've seen her as Athena, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That entrance was like, oh my gosh. I remember why I was so into Ember Moon when she was in WWE. Like, I'm definitely not as into her as I was in WWE compared to her being in AEW now. Everything about her was so cool. Her finisher, I mean, that stunner coming off of the top rope is just crazy. Plus the, I don't even remember what it's called. Is
the Eclipse.
Oh, yeah, the Eclipse. But, like, Ember Moon, that entrance, like, her entrance gear, the music. And this was, like, I think a year or two before she went back to NXT and she had her run there. Her run in NXT kind of felt like she was a different person.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't feel the same. And she hasn't felt the same since this. And it really made me miss her aura that she had.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously, Babyface Bayley was just so cool to see and so long that we haven't seen that.
Yeah.
So some cool spots from it was, there was like this, there was a Hurricane Rana from the top rope, which was just awesome. And then Ember Moon, like, she hit like a Dominator. Like, think of Bobby Lashley's move.
Yeah.
When he picks them up, puts them on the shoulder, their back is on his shoulder, not their, like, not as a power slam position.
Right.
She had Bayley up like that, and then she turned it into a code breaker, which was just awesome. I mean,
you don't see those type of moves every day, though.
Yeah, you definitely don't. This is really, them moves are what made this match. There was a Bayley to belly from the top to win. There's not a lot to talk about. Like I said, I think I felt a little disappointed just because I expected so much from it. But at the same time, you know, I can't change the fact that it didn't really live up.
Right. I think they could have done more, but I think with what was given,
yeah, they did a good job. Did well. I just feel like that babyface format
doesn't work very well.
It doesn't.
All the time.
I mean,
sometimes it does, but you have to have a good, like, backstory behind it. You have to have a good storyline.
This was just champion versus challenger. Yeah. This wasn't like, oh, we just broke up as friends, but, you know, I'm like, I'll hit you. It's just, you know, I'll feel bad.
Yeah.
This wasn't like that. This was like little story with, you know, some high spots, and I don't necessarily like that. Sometimes it's cool, but I don't like that all the time. I love a story, and there wasn't really a story, but still, good match. And afterwards, I even noticed, after Bayley won, she kind of looked at Ember Moon. She was getting checked out by the ref, and I don't know if this was like foreshadowing into her heel turn, or if it was more, like, if that was legitimate long-term storytelling, or if it was more like she was going to help her up, but then it just cut off, and it was kind of awkward.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really it for that. And then there was one match where the next match, Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon.
Yeah. It was.
I heard about it. I forgot most of this card. Like I said earlier, about other than Balor and
it's a lot of forgettable matches. Like, it's a lot of stuff that you can tell it's Vince regime.
I feel like
it's just random, and it's a lot of I guess not a lot of. I guess a lot of what was going on during this time was a lot of authority versus the
up and coming stars.
Up and coming stars, yeah. Because you had like Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon.
Well, I mean,
that was a whole trilogy too, which was
in this promo package up to the actual match. You had Kevin Owens being basically Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon, but on a lesser scale.
Right.
Like he was saying, he literally said, you guys were talking about, your entire family was talking about changing things up and how the fans would get what they want, and now you have more TV time than any of us. You're taking away from the younger stars. So, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't really, when I think of Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon, I think of those drawn out rivalry matches where it's like, yeah, it's the story that they're telling. It's the main story of WWE right now.
Right.
But it's not like something I'm excited about.
Right.
And I did get excited when I seen those that promo package, like where Kevin Owens was legitimately, he had so much hype behind him.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of the face of WWE right here.
Yeah.
But like he was Stone Cold Steve Austin to Vince McMahon.
He was basically the John Cena for the fans. Like, basically, like...
Well, I think it's more than that. I think he was the edgy guy that everybody... Not...
I just meant during this feud specifically.
Right, yeah.
He was like, you gotta look for the fans. I thought we were supposed to be getting something different. In that sense. But yeah, I agree with you.
I feel like this was the official beginning of Rebel Owens. Where Owens was like...
Yes, for sure.
I think current Kevin Owens. Obviously, he's always had this aura about him. Like, even when he came up from NXT initially, you were always, like, kind of captivated by what he can do.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is legitimately... He's not in shape. You know, but he's worked so hard.
Right.
And for so long, and he... puts his all into it, and you can tell that, not even being in person with him, you can tell that he tries his absolute hardest, and he does what he thinks is right. Whether, you know, Vince McMahon or Shane McMahon or anybody else thinks so. So, I feel like this really, he's always been like that, but the character development for him to get to where he's at now with Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
It just really... It's really good. It really makes it feel like this was the beginning. I do remember the setup to this match. Like I said, it was a good setup. It's just... Shane McMahon. I feel like that's what ruins it overall. Yeah. I don't like Shane McMahon. I don't know many people that are like, oh my god, Shane McMahon's my favorite wrestler.
He's not my favorite wrestler. He has some, like, good moments, but
he had some great moments when he was younger, and then when he got older, I feel like he still had the good moments, but it's like, why is he getting these moments?
He shouldn't, but Vince, you know.
I thought it was funny when Corey said, Shane is a lethal striker. Before the match,
with that 1-2 punch.
When they were both actually out there before the match, Elias was announced as the enforcer. And, I don't know, I feel like Elias, like, him being added as a factor into the match kind of made it feel better. Like, if it was just Kevin versus Shane, it would have been like, oh, okay.
Like, what are we going to do?
But with Elias being there, it actually kind of gives Shane more of a chance.
Yeah.
It makes it more believable that maybe Kevin will lose. But I'm really a fan of Elias. I think he's good, and it's very upsetting.
I think he just needs to have the right character and the right story. You need to know how to use him, is the only thing. Right.
I feel like right here, him being a goon was like probably peak of his entire career.
Yeah.
Especially right here. I mean, he was tripping Owens on the outside, which I thought was pretty funny. Also, it was kind of funny. Shane, he did the sharpshooter on Kevin Owens because Kevin's Canadian. They're in Canada. He got a lot of boos from it, and Corey said something. How are they gonna boo when Shane does it, but when Becky does it, she's a national hero? I thought that was pretty funny. But he got. I will say one thing that Shane is good at. It's getting heat.
Oh, yeah.
It's getting them boos. It's getting the crowd to react.
Especially during this time when he was the authority figure at the time. Not a lot of people liked him, generally, being in that role. So...
I feel like with these matches, when I'm not particularly excited about it, if it's under 15 minutes, it's like, oh, okay, that was actually decent.
Yeah.
Because I want it to end sooner. But... Kevin Owens, he hit the swanton from the top rope. Then he went to the other side of the ring, did a frog splash, and he almost won. And then Elias pulled the ref out. I legitimately was like, "No!"
I think literally my reaction when that happened, I was like, "I want him to throw him out." Like in my mind, I was like, "Throw him out! Throw him out!"
Yeah, I didn't like it. But yeah, the ending of the match came when basically. Kevin, there was a chair within play of the match, nobody actually hit anybody with the chair except for Owens killing Elias with it.
Yeah.
But at the end, basically the ref was knocked down. Kevin Owens had a chair. When the ref got back up, he seen Kevin with the chair, so Kevin couldn't hit Shane McMahon with it.
He was just like, okay. Let me kick you in the nuts.
The ref took the chair from him. Kevin hit Shane with a huge nut shot and then a stunner, and then he won, which was a good ending, I thought.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm telling you what, this next part of the show, it wasn't a match. It was Roman Reigns' the
whole segment.
The whole segment. This was, I mean, when I think back on 2019, it's really not a good time to think on. But I feel like when we start reviewing these older shows, we're gonna look back on like, wow, this wasn't bad. Like 2019, I feel like overall with Raw and SmackDown sucked. That's why everybody kind of views it as a bad thing.
Yeah.
If you just watch the pay-per-views and the story that they tell throughout the pay-per-views and the matches that they have in the pay-per-views, they're not bad at all.
No,
they're actually great.
No.
You know, it's just that weekly television that was kind of horrible. And this kind of showed off, like, they actually did have some good storytelling.
Yeah.
Basically, it was the program where Roman Reigns, I remember this. Like, it was so good at the time that
it was mainly
a
program between Roman and Bryan.
Yeah.
And then it turned into a program between Roman Samoa, and then Roman Murphy.
I think...
And it just was basically that whole group.
I think what made this so good was that, first of all, it added the real-life aspect of somebody's legitimately trying to kill Roman Reigns.
Right.
But what also helped it was, like, basically what happened was Roman was coming for an interview, scaffolding toppled over on him, and then people were like, who did it? Roman Reigns was fine. Then Samoa Joe, he was getting accused of it, so he went and met Roman in the parking lot, and they were just having words. They were arguing, and somebody hit Roman Reigns' car, like, from the back. So it was like, oh my gosh. And then what I really liked was not only is this story like, oh my god, we thought it was Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe's actually like, we need some help.
Sympathetic,
like, he's not just a bad guy. It's actually showing the real life aspect of, even if Samoa Joe, you know, as his character, his intentions are bad because he's a heel, he's still like
a genuinely.
It's still showing that realistic
care within the person rather than the character.
Right, and then basically, this was the entire Roman Reigns, Buddy Murphy, Daniel Bryan stuff. It was awesome.
Yeah.
This was really when I felt like Buddy Murphy had his chance. And then it kept going for a little while, and then he had some good segments, and then he got let go, which really sucks, because I feel like he could have been...
He could have been big.
I mean, he is huge. Like, he might be on the shorter side.
But the dude's
He
massive.
is so buff. Like, I feel like that's something that, obviously, Vince McMahon may have found attractive in a professional wrestler, but also... I think he goes perfectly with Triple H's format of what a wrestler is. That indie style, plus the mass, plus he doesn't look like he can just get beat up.
And his moveset was wild. Like, he had a great moveset.
Oh my gosh. Like, insane. And his matches with Ali were great.
A lot of his matches were just overall really good.
Next we had Charlotte taking on Trish Stratus. This was that dream match of the show where... Well, I don't know. I think Goldberg versus Dolph Ziggler was personally my dream match, and it lived up to the hype.
Yeah, totally.
But we had Charlotte versus Trish Stratus. I remember at the time thinking, I feel like this is gonna be Trish Stratus's ending, and it didn't really feel like Charlotte had any chance of losing here.
Yeah.
There was a great spot where Trish did an avalanche Hurricane Rana from the top rope. That was pretty good. Charlotte went for a counter, and like she was gonna powerbomb her, and when Trish came up, basically Charlotte stood up trying to do the powerbomb, and then she actually got the Hurricane Rana, which I thought was pretty good.
flew her body forward to be able to fling her momentum forward.
Yeah. There was a good spot where Trish Stratus actually put in the figure 8 on Charlotte, and that got a lot of hype behind it from the crowd. And then basically Trish tapped to the figure 8. You know, there's
a lot of filler stuff after that, really. There's a lot of back and forth, but it was a lot of... Yeah.
I feel like there's certain matches where you can't really dissect it enough because it's just, it is what it is.
Right.
You have to go watch it to appreciate the beauty of this match because it was good. It's just, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of Charlotte or Trish.
Right.
Plus, I guess, I don't know, I just didn't care as much. Maybe if you do like them, go watch it. It's really good, but, you know.
It's all up for
you have
preference.
to watch it.
Yeah. You have to watch this whole show, like, all the way through to truly realize, like, what we said before.
Like, it's one thing for me to say Charlotte versus Trish Stratus, and another thing for you to see the crowd going wild and for their entrances, and you actually seeing them face off, and it's like, oh, wow, this is actually... They're actually doing that, as opposed to me and J-Dog just saying, oh, it's Stratus hit a Hurricane Rana. So... after this, Bret Hart wished Seth Rollins, who was beat up, good luck. And I just wanted to mention that. That was really cool because Bret's from Canada and such. Got a huge pop. And then after this, which I completely forgot, that Kofi Kingston was the WWE champion.
Oh,
and I completely forgot that Kofi versus Randy was on this card. And when I heard about it, I was like, wow. Kofi versus Randy on this card. This card was stacked. It was awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
And the storyline was so good because it played off of real life. The animosity, the legitimate animosity between Randy Orton and Kofi Kingston, with Kofi's entire career basically being put on hold by Randy for pulling his backstage leverage, basically, and getting Kofi to have his push... at the time seemed maybe temporarily stopped, but, I mean, it took 11 years for Kofi to even get to this point. So, the fact that it was legitimately real-life animosity, it really told the underdog veteran story well. Yeah. I mean, Kofi doesn't feel like not a veteran. It's just Randy is... I mean, it's Randy Orton.
Right.
But yeah, one thing I noticed, and his move isn't called this, but he did like a coffin drop, kind of, where he spreads his arms, and it's so beautiful. He did that on Randy Orton on the outside, and it was graceful. And he also does his crossbody like a frog splash. He completely folds his entire body and then does the crossbody, which... Yeah. I don't know. The more
I've always thought that was cool. I've always thought that was one of the more impactful crossbodies, just because he's springing his body upon people rather than just splashing.
Right. I mean, there's one thing to see Kofi Kingston do his moves, but it's another to really watch him and be like, wow, he's... Not only does he do moves that other people can't, he does them so gracefully.
Yeah.
Like, he does them with perfect, not necessarily perfect technique. It feels like he does stuff that isn't taught in fundamentals of wrestling school. Right. And he's just like...
genuine talent, genuine ability.
Yeah. There was, like, Kofi Kingston and Randy Orton, it was a great match. Like I said already about Kofi's moves, there was one part of the match, though, where Kofi jumped from the top rope, and I don't know what he was going for, but his head was sticking out so far, and I was like, oh no, RKO out of nowhere. Dude, that was such a good RKO. I mean, he was up so high, RKO, and then it's like, this is a WWE Championship match. If Randy covers him, it's over. And then Randy he didn't cover him, which just made the match go on. And then what happened next, the ending of the match, I feel like, I know at the time of 2019, actually living in that moment, people were pissed. And watching it back, I was like, okay, it's honestly not that bad, but still the fact, why would you have a double count out in a WWE Championship match.
It doesn't
at
make
SummerSlam.
sense.
At SummerSlam.
And between Randy and Kofi, which at the time had a very storied history, you would think it would have a good ending. Like
you would want a decisive finish.
Yeah, exactly. So you would want either one or the other to win by pin or submission or something.
Right.
So to have him win by double count out was kind of controversial.
I mean, Kofi kept the title and everything, and the entire crowd was chanting bullshit, bullshit.
Which I don't blame him.
Yeah, I don't blame them at all. But yeah, this next match, this is what we've been waiting for. This was Finn Balor taking on Bray Wyatt. Not Bray Wyatt from 2015. This was the Fiend. This was the debut, and I feel like after this debut, he really, like, the matches didn't feel as special. I'm not trying to take anything away from the Fiend Bray Wyatt, because I love that character. But I understand the criticism, because this debut was so strong, and then for the matches afterwards, like his match with Seth Rollins, where it was a Hell in a Cell, and the entire arena was red.
So
why?
bad.
Why is it red? Like, that didn't make sense, plus just the shitty finishes and the horrible booking that went along with his character after that. And, I mean, he did get the World Championship in 2020, and I feel like the pandemic put a huge damper on that, but still, he was... I don't know.
The booking after he became champion was absolutely terrible.
If we're not looking at the Fiend as a whole, and we're just looking at this match, this is, like, the perfect example of how to debut a character.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, I mean, it was just every little detail. I mean, obviously you're playing off the fact that, like, his character before, while it wasn't the same person,
yeah,
it was still, the same. It was still like that person went through trauma just to become what he is now.
Right.
Like, he's not Bray Wyatt, but at the same time, he's Bray Wyatt. You get what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That might sound a little stupid, but, like, I don't know. It was everything about this match. The setup to it was perfect. The setup to it was perfect. The entrance that Bray Wyatt had was perfect. The way Finn Balor was acting, like, after the lights came back on, there's smoke still in the arena. The crowd is chanting, holy shit. This entire... I mean, in Bray Wyatt, he changed the entire, like, feeling of the entire, like, arena.
Yeah.
He changed the... I'm trying to think of the word. I know they said it in commentary.
Aura.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think Renee said it. She's never seen anybody that can change the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Of that Bray Wyatt has. Like, maybe Undertaker, but... Yeah. I mean, you think about comparing Bray Wyatt to Undertaker. I mean, now it doesn't seem unrealistic, but at the time it was like...
It was crazy because it wasn't...
He's actually on this level.
Yeah.
And then the match. Just every move was... It seemed like it was perfectly constructed. Because you have that initial fear that Finn Balor grows, because it's like, oh my god, what is this? Bray Wyatt doesn't take his jacket off. He just hurts him. He hurts Finn Balor, then that's it. He hurts him, takes his jacket off, and then just continues to do everything. Uranagi, which it just looked so powerful. The way he Irish whipped him into the ropes. He didn't hold his hand and hit it, like, hold on to his back. You want to know what he did? He held the back of his neck. He's like, you're coming over here one way or another. Like, Finn Balor had no choice. And then, eventually, that mystique, that mystery wears off. Finn Balor's like, okay, this is somebody I can actually hit. He hits a shotgun drop kick into the corner, kicks to the face, sling blade. He's trying to get Bray Wyatt down. And then the Fiend gets back up, yells at him, shotgun drop kick again, going for the coup de grace. Oh no, you're caught in the mandible claw, and then that's the end of the match.
Yeah.
It was a quick match, not even 5 minutes, probably.
Yeah, no.
Not even 5 minutes, but this match was the best on the card when it comes to excitement. Pure excitement. Like, the anticipation for this match alone made the entire card worth it.
Right. Any
ups or downs, this was like a golden up, if you're going to follow Simon Miller. This was a golden up. This was great. So yeah, I'm very happy that we went over that, because I hope that this can act as a tribute to Bray Wyatt. But that wasn't the main event. The actual main event was Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins. And I feel like the way they constructed this card, I feel like it was great.
Yeah.
Because you had first of all, women's championship. Maybe like it had some anticipation, but maybe not enough to be main event. So it was the first match. Right. Great match to start off with.
Immediately, still a good place to be.
Immediately, you follow that with so much excitement with Goldberg versus Dolph Ziggler, and then Ricochet and AJ Styles putting on that technical match, and then you have in the middle, maybe not like the best, but still Ember Moon versus Bayley, great match, and then you actually have the bigger matches: Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens, Charlotte versus Trish, Kofi versus Orton. Then having the Fiend's debut, and then the main event being Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins. I think it was perfectly constructed. There was a curb stomp early in the match with Seth Rollins. He got him, and like he almost won. Like it was a near fall, which I thought was great. It was classic. It was a classic Brock Lesnar quick fire match.
Yeah. A lot of finishers going back and forth.
I think if Brock Lesnar's not in that match, then it doesn't feel right. It was this quick fire match that was like, oh, okay, we're picking it up. Brock picked Seth up by the rib taping and spun him around, which I thought was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that he's able to do that. And, so basically, if you're not aware, Seth Rollins won the Royal Rumble in 2019, and then he beat Brock Lesnar on the first match of the card at WrestleMania 35. And then, at Extreme, like, after Money in the Bank, Brock Lesnar won the Money in the Bank briefcase. We're not even going to talk about that because that was so bullshit. But he cashed in after Seth Rollins at Extreme Rules, mixed tag match between Rollins and Becky versus Corbin and Lacey Evans. He cashed in. Brock Lesnar is now the new champion. At SummerSlam, Seth Rollins gets his revenge. And it was just the perfect story. Perfect way to end the night off, I think. Okay, well, we are finished with podcast episode 9, the Fight Pit podcast episode 9, where we went over SummerSlam 2019, not 2016, but making an official announcement right now, our next episode will be over WrestleMania 25.
Yeah.
5th
anniversary.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting, at least for me, because I've never seen WrestleMania 25.
Well, so. I know that there's obviously Michaels versus Undertaker as like the main event. I'm pretty sure it's Randy versus Triple H, and I know it's Jeff Hardy versus Matt Hardy. So that's going to be an exciting watch, and I really hope you guys enjoyed. We haven't done the podcast in a while, but we're going to be trying to, actually be more consistent, be more on top of our game when it comes to the podcast world, so that we can skyrocket to number 1 in the wrestling podcast scene. What you think about that, J-Dog?
Yeah.
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 Up in it, bitch, we tryna get higher. Put it back, I cooking it rack me, eating that pack of bonus stopper, holding it down, pull up in the primary roof, that just not faking the cap. Yeah, killing the trapper, coming back, I'll break new loose, keep up in the track, I'm feeling the beat, you burning, healing, marking it, tie beam, baking screech. Don't clap in the sea, air track and pee, I'm master love, but Fiend deep, I'm switching my game, take passion, even with my shot, no line to see.